Hello everyone and welcome to yet another video. Today I'm here taking a closer look at the recently released indie title Citalis, or Citalis, however you want to pronounce that. This was the developer's first game released on Steam and it currently sits around €2 on the Steam store. In this video I'll be taking a look at what the game wants to be and how well it does it. I'll also be talking about my general thoughts on the whole thing, we'll make a list of pros and cons, and in the end I'll make a little conclusion to round the whole thing off. Hopefully you will figure out during this video if the game is worth buying. So without further ado, let's get into it. Citalis is a very simplistic isometric city builder and management game. Basically it's a game about building a city on these type of floating island type things. There's a heavy focus on making sure that your city can sustain itself and generate enough revenue to actually continue to expand your city. At this time Citalis has 4 modes: Classic, Stockpiler, Happiness and Hardcore. These modes set different targets for you to complete while building your city. The main goal is to complete these tasks as fast as possible, although it is possible to just build a nice looking city and not care about the goals at all. During the gameplay you'll attempt to keep all of your citizens happy, as well as have enough people in your city to staff all of your commercial buildings, which is your main source of revenue. You'll need to make sure that your citizens have enough water to live, and you will also need to make sure that you have enough nice stuff around the city for the citizens to actually want to live there, like fountains and trees and parks. If you don't manage to fulfill these needs, the crime rate of your city will go up. The crime will seep into your commercial buildings and they will eventually get shut down due to corruption. You can only reopen these buildings again by paying a huge fine. This punishes you because many of the main goals of the game are to create as much revenue and as much money in your bank account as possible. So if you lose money, that's a problem. There's not much more to the basic gameplay since the game is very simplistic. So let's move on to my general thoughts on the whole package. So I'm in a bit of an awkward position when it comes to this game, mainly because I actually like it, but at the same time I can't bring myself to actually recommend it to anyone, and there are a few reasons for this. Firstly, for what the game is trying to be, which is a city builder, it really falls flat on its face immediately as it tries, because as soon as you have enough houses to staff your commercial buildings, there's really no more challenge in the game, unless you f*** up when you are building one of your reservoirs for water and you accidentally flood the city, and that can only happen if you don't pay attention. So at that point there's not really any challenge. Just build a bunch of houses, a bunch of trees in a park, and fountains as well to keep your citizens happy, and you can't fail in the game. At that point there's no challenge, and unfortunately you reach that point after under an hour, and the only thing that's left in the game at that point is just building a nice city, nice looking city, not nice functioning or anything, just nice looking. And there's some fun in that because some people like to play the unlimited money version of City Skylines or SimCity, but the normal player is not really gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of that situation. So why do I enjoy the game, you may ask? Well, to be honest, I paid €2 for this game and I got 2 hours of playtime, and I actually enjoy just building a nice looking city, and I really enjoy the art style of the game. It looks incredible. It kind of reminds me of one of those old social games you would play when you were like 10 years old, and to be honest, that's enough for me, but it's probably not going to be enough for anyone else. And if it is for anyone else, it's probably only going to be a very small portion of people. So if you're looking for a game to fill that city building urge you have, maybe you've played City Skylines too much or SimCity, you're tired of those games, you're looking for a new one, I can only say that this game is not for you. Unless you just want to screw around and build a nice looking city, then it's definitely for you. But if you're looking at this game hoping for something complex, hoping for something in the vein of City Skylines, Banished, or anything of that sort, you're not gonna get it. I'm sorry. Besides problems with the gameplay, there are also some severe technical difficulties. The game is surprisingly unstable. I experienced about 10 to 15 crashes in the about 2 hours I played the game, and that is not good for a game that struggles to hold your attention in the first place. Now I do also really have to comment on the music choice of this game, because it uses some royalty free music that if you've watched a few videos on YouTube you will have heard before, and that is just unprofessional, to be honest. Just find other sources, pay an artist. You obviously had a lot of talent in this game and in the art assets. You had the contact, you had a publisher. Find something better than this. Now, as you probably know, that music was made by a guy called Kevin MacLeod, and his site is used by a ton of YouTubers, a ton of people, and it's a very popular site to get royalty-free music. And that is the reason you don't use it for a game that's trying to be professional, and that it just makes the game look unprofessional and amateurish, and that's not something you want for the first game you release on Steam. I'm guessing that the developer knew this since the music is turned off by default, but that does not excuse that you could have found much better royalty-free music just by searching a few minutes on the web. And I mean, that just strikes me as lazy, to be honest, so there's really no excuse for it. I think we've covered all the basic elements of my general thoughts, so let's move into the pros and cons section of this video. Now, as always, let's start out a bit positive and talk about the pros. Citalis does have a great art style, and the basic gameplay elements work very well. They fulfill their function, even though it may just end up being a shallow experience despite of it. Now, with that very short list covered, let's move into the cons. Citalis suffers from a few major problems. It has shallow gameplay, it has a terrible soundtrack, and it is very prone to crashing. These things hold the game down from being an enjoyable experience. Now let's move on to my final thoughts. Citalis is a very simplistic game. While some games build on their simplicity to become really entertaining, Citalis remains a shallow experience because of it. It's not a game for anyone looking for a challenging or complex experience, to be sure. Additionally, the game suffers from frequent crashing and an awful soundtrack. These things all come together to form a shallow experience that the general audience will get tired of very fast. Most people will not get more than 2 hours of game time out of this title. While I personally find enough enjoyment in the basic gameplay to keep playing, I can't bring myself to recommend Citalis to anyone. Given some time, the developers could turn this game into something really interesting, but to me, that will be too little, too late. That concludes my thoughts on the game Citalis. If you feel you have anything to add to the discussion, feel free to leave a comment below. If you liked the video, I do have a like button, and if you loved it and want to see more videos in the same style, I also have a subscribe button. I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!